Ciao a tutti! Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about an Italian verb tense. We're going to talk about the conditional, okay? This video is going to be a little bit longer, but just because I'm going to give you lots and lots of details and give you all of the information that you need to start with the basic knowledge of the Italian conditional. So, il condizionale. As always, remember that you can click on the link below and download this entire lesson in PDF format. Or if you're one of those people that just, I don't like to click on links, and it's perfectly understandable because sometimes I don't like to click on links either. You can go on my blog page at italianlanguagehub.com and you can have all of this written out for you. So you can take notes also on that blog page if you want to. So now let's go straight to the point. When are you going to use the Italian conditional? So what we call il condizionale. You're going to use it when you're talking about doubts, uncertainty, wishes, assumptions, hypotheses, or polite requests. If you want to remember it by translating it to English, the formula that you need to remember is that you're going to translate it with would plus a verb. Let's look at some examples that will make this more clear. Mi piacerebbe andare in Polinesia. I would like to go to Polynesia. Mi piacerebbe andare, your conditional, would plus a verb. Let's look at some other examples. Al tuo posto prenderei la felpa blu. If I were you, I would take the blue sweater. Or, another example, vorrei un caffè. I would like a coffee. Okay? So this is sort of the basic that you need to understand when you're trying to study it and internalizing it and trying to understand how you're translating it to English. With me today, you're going to learn how to form it and how to use it. I suggest that you also link this video with the video on the subjunctive, on the congiuntivo, because very often these two verb tenses go together inside of sentences. So if you have already watched that video, you know already what I'm talking about. If you haven't watched it, I suggest you watch it because it's really like the ultimate video on the congiuntivo, and it will also help you to put these two verbs together. Now, let's go with how you are forming it. First of all, you need to know that you have condizionale presente and condizionale passato. So you have the present and the past form of the conditional. Let's focus on the present, okay? Condizionale presente. I'll give you first a wonderful news. The verbs that end with are, like amare, and the verbs that end with ere, like prendere, have the same conjugation. Yay! And there is a one-letter change with the verbs that end with ire, like the verb aprire. So the form is not super difficult to remember. I'm going to show you a chart. Yes, this chart is available in the PDF that you can download from the link below. I suggest that you take this chart and that you look at the endings, okay? And you sort of memorize these endings for the regular verbs that end with are, are, ere, and ire, ire. Let's look at them together. Repeat them with me to get the feeling of it, okay? The more you say them, the more you are internalizing how you're forming these verb tenses. Let's go with amare. Io amerei. Tu ameresti. Lui, lei amerebbe. Noi ameremmo. Voi amereste. Loro amerebbero. I know. The endings are not so easy to remember, but just study them for these verbs and keep them as like a example for all the other regular verbs. Let's go to the second verb that you see in this chart, prendere. Io prenderei. Tu prenderesti. Lui, lei prenderebbe. Noi prenderemmo. Voi prendereste. Loro prenderebbero. I know, they become very long towards the end. So as you see, the verbs that end with are and ere have the same endings. Let's look at what happens with the last set of verbs, so the ones that end with ire, like the verb aprire. Io aprirei. Tu apriresti. Lui, lei aprirebbe. Noi apriremmo. Voi aprireste. Loro aprirebbero. Once again, try to repeat them over and over and over to get those endings correct. You got those endings right? All of your regular verbs are in you. Let's now look at these verbs and some extra verbs into sentences. Okay? Just, make a sentence of your own so that you can try to remember the conjugation and you can practice with me. I'll give you some examples. Non partirei mai senza salutarti. I would never leave without saying goodbye. Another sentence. Non crederei mai alle sue parole. I would never believe a word he says. And let's give you another example. Chiuderesti la finestra, per favore? Would you close the window, please? Try to create different sentences. Make them negative, make them positive, make them questions. Okay? Just keep making them so that you keep remembering how to use this verb tense. Obviously, this was the conjugation for the regular verbs. As you know, we do have lots of irregular verbs, and they also take this irregularity also with the conditional form. I will give you two verbs that you immediately need to learn and that you need to remember that are irregular, and they're always irregular, and they're verbs that you will need to know because you will use them to create other verb tenses in other forms. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the verb essere and the verb avere. These are irregular, and this is the conjugation that you need to remember when you're talking in terms of conditional. Let's look at them together. Repeat them with me. Io sarei. Tu saresti. Lui, lei sarebbe. Noi saremmo. Voi sareste. Loro sarebbero. How about avere? Io avrei. Tu avresti. Lui, lei avrebbe. Noi avremmo. Voi avreste. Loro avrebbero. Let's look at some sentences with these two verbs. Saresti in orario se puntassi la sveglia prima. You would be on time if only you set the alarm clock a little bit before. Avrei una domanda da farti. I have a question for you. Okay, now that you know how to conjugate the regular and two irregular verbs, if you want to know more about the irregular verbs and you want to make sure you're doing lots of exercises, you can also use the book that I always suggest, this one. You will find an Amazon link underneath if you're interested in having that book. And if you go to page 129, there are lots and lots of exercises on this verb tense. Now that you know how to form the conditional, let's look at how to use it. You're going to use it to talk about something that might happen or that is an improbable situation. A hypothetical sentence or clause is one of those sentences that uses if or like a similar expression to create a situation where one thing will happen dependent on another thing. You already learned about this if sentence with my previous video on the subjunctive. For example, look at these sentences. Se avessi una macchina, ti porterei io. If I had a car, I would take you. So you're using the if I had, se avessi, you're using the subjunctive, and you're linking it to the conditional in the second sentence. And the two are dependent from one to the other. So if I had a car, I would take you. Se avessi una macchina, ti porterei. Se potessi aiutarti, lo farei. If I could, I would help you. So once again, two sentences linked together. In this case, you're using once again the subjunctive. Se potessi, ti aiuterei. Okay? This is how you can use the subjunctive and the conditional together. I strongly suggest that you review my video on the congiuntivo to get all this information internalized. Just like in English, and I'm sure you have already picked this up, you can use the conditional in the present tense when you're using it to talk about something like a polite request, when you're being nice, you're asking something in a nice way, or when you're giving a nice advice. Let's look at these examples. Chiuderesti la porta, per favore? Like, would you be so kind to close the door? So like a very super nice request. Or, secondo me, dovresti venire alla festa stasera. So, in my opinion, you should come to the party tonight. So I'm giving a nice, polite advice. You can also use it to express the wishes or like the intention of doing something. Let's look at some sentences that express this. Vorrei venire al cinema con te. I would like to come to the movies with you. Or, vorrei smettere di lavorare. I would like to stop working. Mi piacerebbe andare a Miami. I would like to go to Miami. So all of these are wishes or future intentions, and they're all using the conditional form. How about a couple of examples about when you're using it in terms of doubt? For example, cosa farei senza di te? What would I do without you? Okay, so you're saying, oh wow, I don't know what I would do without you, right? Cosa farei senza di te? Or, non capisco come sarei d'aiuto. I don't understand how I would be of help. Once again, you have that feeling of doubt. I don't know how. I don't understand how. Okay? You're using the conditional. So far, we have focused on the conditional in the present tense, so in the present form. Now, we do also have the conditional in the past. Sometimes it's called condizionale passato, or very, very often you will find it as condizionale composto. To create, form this verb tense, you need to learn the conditional present of the auxiliary verbs essere and avere. Remember, they are irregular, study them because they're very useful when you're creating this form. And you're going to associate that with the past participle of the acting verb. So you need to remember essere, avere in the conditional plus past participle. That's the formula. If you want to focus on how to translate this in English, you can translate it with would have plus a verb. So let's take the auxiliary verbs essere and avere and let's add the past participle. When you're using essere and when you're using avere is always linked to the verb that comes after. So you need to sort of know beforehand the choice of essere and avere. I do have a video on that. I'll link it here below. I'm just going to assume that you know it at this point. So if you don't know it, go check it out. Otherwise, keep going with this video. Now, let's look at a couple of verbs and let's conjugate them together. Remember that every time you're using the auxiliary essere, you also need to match gender and number of the past participle. I will not say it out loud, but you will see it written out that you have that option, okay? So first of all, take the verb andare. If you're conjugating it at the conditional past, you're going to use the auxiliary verb essere. So you will say, io sarei andato, tu saresti andato, lui, lei sarebbe andato, noi saremmo andati, voi sareste andati, loro sarebbero andati. Make sure you are matching gender and number, okay? Once again, I didn't say it, but you know what you need to use in terms of what context and what you are expressing. Let's look at another verb. Let's look at the verb parlare. Parlare will need to use the auxiliary verb avere. This is how you're going to conjugate it at the condizionale composto, condizionale passato. Io avrei parlato, tu avresti parlato, lui, lei avrebbe parlato, noi avremmo parlato, voi avreste parlato, loro avrebbero parlato. In this case, with the auxiliary verb avere, you're not going to match gender and number. How are you using this type of conditional? You're going to use it when you're talking about something of the past that you are not 100% sure about. For example, i ladri sarebbero entrati dalla finestra del salotto. You're saying the thieves most likely came in from the window of the living room, but you're not sure. You're giving that idea of doubt. But the important thing is that you're talking about a situation, something that happened in the past, okay? Sarebbero entrati, you're linking it with something that is happened, okay, that's gone in the past. The next little section will show you how to use the conditional when you're talking about something that you wish you hadn't done and now you're sort of regretting it. The formula here that best translates to English is the shouldn't have plus the past participle. Let's look at some examples to make this clear. Non sarei dovuto andare a letto così tardi. I shouldn't have gone to bed so late. Meaning now I'm regretting it because probably I'm tired. Okay? Let's look at another example. Non avrei dovuto ascoltarti. I shouldn't have listened to you. Now I'm regretting it because probably a person said something that was not useful. Okay? So you can also use it to talk about something that you wish you hadn't done. So, and now you sort of regret it. The conjugation of this verb tense, so of the condizionale passato, is very interesting because you can actually use it to talk about a future action in the past. I know, that sounds confusing, but let me explain it to you. Sapevo che avresti chiamato per scusarti. You have the first action in the past, sapevo, so you're linking it to the past. And inside that past, you're talking about an action of the future. So back in the past, I knew you would have called to tell me that you are sorry. So the conditional past is used to talk about a future action in the past. Honestly, there are a lot more details and there's a lot more information with the conditional, so I probably stay like an hour and a half just teaching you the conditional, but I don't think that's what you need. What you need is what I have told you so far. These are the basics. So if you want to explore a little bit more, I suggest that you go to page 129 of this book and you do some exercises and you find out more information on this truly interesting verb tense. This is it for today. I hope I didn't confuse you too much and I will see you next week. Un bacio.